We'll start off with place value to understand column addition. In column addition, we organize our numbers into columns like you can see with our lines here, and we can karate chop in straight lines to remember column addition. We organize our columns for ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. I think of the army when I think of column addition, as in the army you have to line up in straight lines and be organized. I think of the ones column with privates in charge, and we salute for private ones. The tens column with captain in charge, so for captain tens we can twirl a pretend moustache. For our hundreds we have a major in charge, so a major hundreds, and we can sit up straight for major hundreds. And then for our thousands we have general thousands, and for general thousands we can pretend to put a cap on our head. To help us, we can also think of our army traveling in different ships of increasing importance on a blue sea line. You might ask, do they always have to stay on their own ship? And the answer is no. There's the submarine regroup, which lets them travel between ships. We'll talk more of this later. There are rules for our ships. Only 9 private ones are allowed on our private 1 ship, and only 9 teams of 10 are allowed on our captain 10 ship, and only 9 teams of 100 are allowed on our major 100 ship, and only 9 teams of 1,000 are allowed on our general thousands ship. There's also a rule for our submarine regroup, in that 10 are needed. That's 10 privates or 10 teams are needed for it to travel between ships. So if we look at our calculation, 7,631 add 1,655 equals. And we can form an addition sign with our arms for add. We start with our columns for column addition. And then we've got 2 lines for our answer with our bottom blue line, our bottom blue C line, and then our addition sign. We think of our private ones, we think of our captain tens, our major 100s, and our general thousands. We then line up our numbers ready to add. We look at 7,631 with 7 thousands. We got a comma for thousands. So 7, 600s, 3 tens, and 1 1. And then we've got 1,655 with 1 1,000. There's our comma, 6 hundreds, 5 tens, and 5 ones. So we now need to think of our columns and their rules. In our private 1 column, our privates work separately on their own, as you can see. In our captain 10 column, our privates work closely as part of teams of 10 under the command of their captain 10. You can see we've got 1 team of 10 there. And in our 100 column, under the command of our major 100, privates work in a team of 100. There's 1 team of 100. In our general 1,000s column, privates work in cubes of 1,000. You can see 1 cube of 1,000 there. And if we bring our numbers back into it and only use our army in our answer. In our private 1 column, we add 1 add 5, or swap to go 5 add 1 to give 6 private ones. However, we also need to think of the rules in our ships. And in our private 1 ship, there's only 9 privates allowed. We're lucky because we've got 6, and so they can fit on our ship. We then move on to our captain 10's column and add. We've got 3 add 5, but we'll swap to go 5 add 3. So 5 add 3 is 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 teams of 10. We again need to think of the rules on our ships. Our captain 10 ship only has enough room for 9 teams of 10 allowed. 9 teams. And we had 8 teams. So we're lucky because they'll fit on. We then move on to our major 100 column and we're going to add 6 teams of 100, add 6 teams of 100. So it's double 6. 6 add 6 gives 12. So we got 12 teams of 100. However, there's the rules of our ships again. And our major hundreds ship only has enough room for 9 teams of 100. And we have a problem because we've got 12. So what can we do? This is where our submarine regroup comes into it, and we can group with our hands. We can send some of our hundreds over to the next column. Our submarine has a rule as well, and 10 teams are needed to fill it. So 10 teams of 100, I'm going to count them out and they'll disappear. Ready? There's my 10 teams disappearing, and I regroup them to form a cube team of 1,000, which we sink down, and we can point down. So our team of 1,000 sinks down underneath our blue sea line. Let's watch it go and point down at the same time. It sinks down to our submarine regroup. The regrouped team of 1,000 are then transported across to be under the command of our general 1,000 and move underneath his column. We got our arrow pointing across, and you can see them move across. We then turn to our general 1,000 column, and it's time to add again. We've got 7 teams of 1,000, add 1 team of 1,000. 7 add 1 gives 8 teams of 1,000. However, we're not finished there. We have to remember our regrouped 1,000 in our submarine regroup. So we circle this, and we can form a circle in the air with our hand to help us remember. We then need to add our extra circled 1,000. So we had 8,000, now we've got an extra 1, and we'll have it appear there. So 8 add 1 gives us 9. So we've got 9,000. We can then cross out our extra regrouped 1,000 as we've already added it. So we can form a cross with our hands to help us remember to cross it out. And we've got our answer. We've got 9,286 as our answer, and we've regrouped in the hundreds column. So let's see if we can remember, and we can point to our head for remember, if we can remember all those actions we used to regroup in order. First, we lined up so we can karate chop. We lined up our private ones so we can salute. Then we lined up our captain tens, we can twirl a pretend moustache. Then we lined up our major hundreds, we can sit up straight. And then we lined up our general thousands, we can pretend to put a hat on. Next, we can form an addition sign with our arms. We added our private ones, we can salute. We added our captain tens, we can twirl a pretend moustache. And we added our major hundreds, sit up straight. But we found out we had too many teams of 100 for our major hundreds ship, where only 9 teams of 100 are allowed. So we had to regroup, and we can group our hands together. We regrouped in our submarine regroup, grouping 10 teams of 100 into 1 team of 1,000. And then our submarine sinks down, we can point down, and moves across, we can point across. Finally, we can form an addition sign with our arms. We added our general 1,000, we can pretend to put a hat on. Not forgetting to circle, draw a circle in the air, and cross out, form a cross with your arms. We circle and cross out as we add our regrouped 1,000. Time for your go to show it, and we can build with blocks and see if you can remember our regrouping actions. So can you remember our actions in order? Pause the video and on your own or with a friend use the pictures to help you remember the actions and order of regrouping in the hundreds column. You can also add your own movements, create a story, or add drama or props if you would like. Pause the video and have a go. In this video, we looked at addition, concentrating on remembering actions to regroup hundreds in thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones column addition. Our steps to success we can hopefully say at the end of this video are: number 1, I can remember actions to line up columns, to add ones, tens, and hundreds, to regroup hundreds into 1,000, and to add thousands, including the regrouped 1,000. This has been a Teaching Alive short video taken from themed units aimed at learners aged 7 to 11. Throughout our videos, we use pictures and suggest actions for teaching points. So please join in with us to support learning and have some fun. For more information on the Teaching Alive project and to be shown to learn and to practice more, visit teachingalive.co.uk.